Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's the Tuber. Welcome back. If this is your fourth DC Stargirl season 3 episode review for you today. We got a banger of an episode, as well as I'm pretty sure comic book fans will hate me after this episode. But you know what? Add it on the list. People who hate me, add it on the list. I'm not surprised anyway. Because this week on Stargirl, it literally felt like the most comic booky episode ever. Where even though I don't watch, actually, I don't read that many comic books nowadays, even back then, I still feel like, yeah, this is just, it kind of feels like a comic book episode, for better or for worse, because literally a lot of the tropes they do, a lot of decisions that they seem like they're imploring are like, okay, do we really need this? Or does this need to be something that we need to bring up right now? I don't know, but you know, at the end of the day, like I said before, with every show I review, with every episode I talk about, I let the writers decide because they probably are better people than me, so I kind of just give the vote to them. But no, in honesty, this was still a fun episode of Stargirl. It just felt like more like a comic book episode, which I guess for a comic book show, I guess that should be a good thing. But you know, there's a lot of reasons why comic books have lasted for so long. There, of course, the great things about it. There's the bad things about them. But you know what? Let's get through. Let's go talk about this episode of Stargirl before I blabber out anymore. Actually, before I forget. Actually, no, wait. You know what? We'll talk about that another time. I was thinking, like, should I talk about that thing yet? Like, the thing that was teased last week? Not yet, right? Not yet. I'm going to wait till we get some more concrete information. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate yet. That's not that show. But anyway, what we can talk about is this show, Stargirl. So we pick up where the last episode left off. Courtney is sound asleep in bed. Pretty sure studying some notes. The staff wakes her up. I forget if it was a he or a she. I think it was a he that they classified it as. I don't remember. The staff wakes Courtney out, and she drags her away to the gambler's death crime scene, the murder crime scene. Courtney's a bit confused at first, but then she finds Sylvester's unconscious body on the ground, worries the most about him, thinking that he's dead again. And I can't believe I have to say that again. You know, again, he's dead. And so she drags him over to the hospital somehow. Where thankfully Beth's mother admits him in. She treats him. He's going to be all right. He's just unconscious right now, but he's good. And I was like, oh, great. Are we going to get the traditional, like, here's an important character, but they're in a coma. We'll see them closer to the finale so we can save some money. Pat's there. Courtney's there. It turns out Beth's mom has kind of, rigged his results to be more like a hit and run so that, not that too many people ask questions, but Pat wasn't really satisfied with that decision, because that means they are still looking for someone who caused the accident. And Bev's mom admits, like, yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I just been so caught up on being involved somehow in the world of superheroics because of Beth that my judgment kind of went away for a little bit. So it was nice for her to have a little acknowledgement. They're like, yeah, I've been going a little overboard lately, haven't I? I have been. So she leaves the room, and Pat and Courtney are just there to comfort him. I know across town, I know Cameron is is holding. Oh no, this is how the episode actually started, with Cameron holding a snow globe with I guess Courtney adjacent. It really looks like Courtney. I don't think it is. But him still not having full control over his powers. He kind of explodes a little bit, breaks the snow globe. But his grandparents come in to kind of comfort him and say, don't worry, you need some training, you need some time, but eventually you will be able to muster your full power and kill all of our enemy. Not his enemy, our enemies. These grandparents, they seem like an evil Uncle Ben and Aunt May for some reason. That was like literally the comparison I made at the ad when I was watching that scene. I'm like, Cameron is Peter Parker, and these two are like the evil versions of Ben and May. So I'm like, God rest whatever they have planned for him next. God rest that soul. We cut over to Yolanda's house, where Yolanda is talking to Rick about just, now that Sylvester's attack, it kind of really paints us into a new picture of, like, is Cindy really involved here? Did she really get involved here? But they're speculating still. Yolanda has to hang up because her mom starts approaching. Her mom asks questions, but Yolanda hangs it up and just rings it as, oh, they asked me to work a shift tomorrow at the diner. And her mom's like, no, you shouldn't. It's a school night. But Yolanda's like, why not? Like, it's kind of slow nowadays. I get my work done, so it doesn't hurt. And it turns out the only real reason why her mom even allowed her to work back at the diner is because financially, They're struggling. They're not doing so well. Turns out her dad lost his job, and now they're gonna have to like start figuring out where they're gonna live next. And honestly, I still remember like 2 weeks ago, I made a joke of like, I really hope Yolanda gets like a bigger storyline that isn't just hating on Cindy every episode. And I was like, okay, I get it. You listen to me. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. And the only problem that they make her make is that that all of the tips that she gets goes directly into her college fund, which I'm pretty sure they probably drain so they can afford living there. But I guess now they're gonna move out to afford somewhere cheaper for the time being. That's going to be a really big question mark, to be honest with you, how that's going to proceed over. And it seems like Yolanda is a little bit on better terms with her mom, like a little bit more, not too much, but definitely is like better than when we were back at the start of season 1. And so she closes the door. She dresses up as that Wildcat, presumably to go out there and, start looking for Sylvester's attacker. Which, speaking of Sylvester, ironically, and I was like, huh, God be damned. The writers decided, you know what? Nah, Sylvester's not being in a season-long coma. He's back. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, already? I'm actually surprised. I'm like, like that was pretty quick. But yeah, so yeah, Sylvester's still kicking. He's still living. He doesn't give any sort of identifier to who attacked him, because it came out of nowhere. He got his ass whooped and literally was thrown away before even seeing whatever attacked him. So he doesn't really offer too much insight on that. However, Pat shows up with someone that could potentially shed some light on the situation, which is in fact the original Dr. Midnighter. That's right, he's back. I forgot his real name. I'm just gonna call it Dr. Midnight because I just can't. So weird that he's wearing. I know he has to wear the shades in wherever he goes for analytic purposes, but I'm like, it's so kind of weird. It's the middle of night in a very low lit hospital, and he's wearing sunglasses. So I'm like, okay. Also, in the meantime, they're being watched at these weird CCTV cameras at whoever this mysterious person is that we still don't know who he is, but it's clearly where he has connections everywhere. He's watching everything, so we know he's aware of everything that's going on now. Dr. Midnight does an analysis on Sylvester and realizes that his wounds are healing pretty quickly. They're not sticking so well to the body, and there will be a way pretty soon, meaning that he'll be back to full strength momentarily. But now trying to figure out, like, of all this, like, why now? Because Sylvester never really had superpowers. He only just had the ability to use the staff. That was where his power came from. But Dr. Midnighter makes the analytical decision, or the analytical result, that exposure to the cosmic staff over the many, many years of use has actually given Sylvester some of the cosmic energy flowing through his body to, self-replicate inside of him without always having to hold the staff. Meaning that when Sylvester died all those years ago, yeah, he did die, but his body slowly used the reserve energy to resurrect him. And then I'm gonna assume when Courtney reactivated the staff, it released that cosmic burst of energy that kind of finished up the resurrection process for Sylvester. And that's when the events of season 1, season 2 take place, and then the rest is history by that point. So it was actually it was honestly, again, like, I'm actually surprised we got to answer that pretty quickly. I thought it was gonna have something to do with Mr. Bones or whatever the case might be. That's what I thought. But I'm like, you know what? That was the number one example of why this feels comic booky. So Sylvester kind of has superpowers. He doesn't really have the ability to give himself the cosmic energy, but he can, like, heal himself or stuff like that. So that's an interesting ability for him to have. So then afterwards they talk about just, about just life itself, that, he's been doing this, to become Starman again, and he's not really feeling like he's living up to the name Starman anymore, given how the past few days have kind of perceived for him. He asked Dr. Midnighter about his life, and then, like, I feel very satisfied, at peace with my life since I gave up the mantle to Beth. I felt very happy. I'm a dad now. I'm back to being a doctor. I have my wife again. I'm living a good life. I'm living the happy life again. And he doesn't regret it. He asked Sylvester if he's happy, and Sylvester just can't say it because it's not true. But at this point, it might be time for Starman to finally retire. It could be that this is the moment where he has to consider, yeah, this is the end. Like, I can't do this anymore. Courtney and the rest of the JSA go back to the gambler's house to look for more clues that's pertaining to Sylvester's attack. They don't find anything useful. They don't find anything productive. And so that means it's just another dead end, and everyone's just like, oh, come on. Like, again, remember, they're superhero. We have way too many heroes in one small town that maybe gets like a big crisis thing every six months. Do we really need this? I'm not surprised they're like, really? Again? Like, we have a reason to be back in the suits, and, now it's not going to happen again. And however, Beth thankfully turns their frowns upside down when she finds there is a single piece of an unidentifiable skin on the surface of one of the panels. So she collects that analysis, and she doesn't immediately find a match to it. So she heads back to the body shop with Dr. Midnighter to analyze it. And there's only one very close match to this DNA fragment, which is the Dragon King. Which is, yes, for the second time in this episode, the very comic booky feel, the Dragon King might return. And I'm just like, oh, God. Why? We killed him last season. And yeah, even that, I understand, like, yeah, he's experimented on himself multiple times. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he had figured out a way to kind of prevent himself from dying. So that, or maybe he could come back down the road. Like, that makes sense. I understand it, but I'm like, okay, so just ironically now is the time period where he decides to come back. Not when Eclipso was attacking, not when the Shade rolled back into town, just now is the time. So Beth lets everyone know about this, that the Dragon King is back, and, they're still not 100% off the Cindy Berman blaming train, because, like, it's just like, oh, it's still the connection, like, it's dad and daughter again. But Courtney tells them that when she was in the Shadowlands last season during the Eclipso conflict, that she went into sort of Cindy's mind, where she got to witness Cindy's kind of abuse growing up, where she was always just been like a guinea pig to her dad to try and make her stronger, with no care about her feelings or her her wants and needs. And it just pointed for Courtney, like, yeah, I don't think Cindy would ever do that, because she's always wanted to be free of her father, and now she is, so why would she go back running to him? Which is a fair point to make. What sadly is not a great point on the Cindy Berman camp is that Cindy's not there. She's still back in the lab, but she's kind of acting a little differently. She's looking a little differently. But we'll get to more on that in a second. Pat brings Sylvester back home to rest, to recuperate. They notice the staff isn't there because Courtney's off, like, trying to solve Sylvester's, little mystery attacker. And Sylvester's a little bummed, like himself, like he used to be the leader of the JSA. And now he's letting kids kind of having to help solve his matters. And he feels a little embarrassed by it, but Pat's like, you shouldn't have to feel embarrassed by it. Like, they're doing what they can. They're doing the right thing. You did your part. It wasn't your fault. You got attacked by something that was stronger than you without a weapon. It was going to happen. So, don't hurt yourself too much about it. So, but, obviously, of course, being a little bit the macho man he is, he can't really, fully, he can never fully get that mindset out of his head. But regardless of that, moving on. I want to say, yeah, because I know eventually, I think we eventually switch back over to Courtney finally runs into Cameron again, and Cameron's still acting a little bit cold, no pun intended. They get back to the art room, and it turns out that Cameron is going to quit art class because since he's developed his icicle powers, he hasn't really been able to paint in a while, so there's no point for him to stay in somewhere where he's not able to actually, do the thing he used to be good at. And he's deciding that this is the end for himself. This is the end of his identity. He's just going to accept this new cold life. Courtney tries to reason with him that, this is in the way, you don't have to do this. But he's not listening 100% well to her. Eventually it comes to the point where he explodes. He exposed the entire ice storm around her. Thankfully, Courtney's not hurt, but, it's clear that, yeah, his powers are starting to get a little bit more out of control. But, of course, Courtney kind of knew that, oh, Cameron is the son of Icicle. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he inherited Icicle's powers. So, smart of them to do, and for her to acknowledge that again. Now, Cameron tries to get away, but Courtney stops him, again, acting like she doesn't really know anything about the superpowers since, again, she's not supposed to reveal that she's Stargirl to everyone. And she's trying to tell him, I'm here for you, whatever you need to talk about, whatever you need, I can be there for you. At first, Cameron doesn't really want her help because she doesn't want her to get hurt, but, Courtney stands her ground and she just, promises herself like, yeah, I'm going to be there for you during this time. I want to say, I'm pretty sure there's another JSA. I know, like, we get back to the Dugan household where Pat and Sylvester are just taking the day off watching old time movies and them quoting them. And I'm like, this is kind of sweet. This is kind of a little sweet that, we knew they grew up kind of like brothers. Like, Pat was the older brother and Sylvester was the younger brother. They grew up together, and it was nice for them to have this kind of like pseudo bonding moment between them. And, it was actually pretty sweet. Sportsmaster of all people shows up to kind of offer a peace gift of a 6-pack of beer. Which I'm like, you know what? I like your style, Sportsmaster. I like your Sportsmaster. Once again, Sylvester's all ready to throw down. He's ready to throw down the staff again to Sportsmaster. But we don't got the budget for that. They dissipated and they decided to let Sportsmaster come in. Which I'm like, when you get a scene of that, and I'm just like, I don't know how I would feel where like, Sylvester has a lot to control with his temper. But I can't disagree with him when he said, you let the people who helped kill our friends move in next door. Yeah, I don't know how comfortable I would feel if they were sitting right next to me having a beer. I don't know how I would feel about that. So that's the one thing where like I would have been very curious to see the full scene. We didn't get that see that scene at all, which is very unfortunate for me. But it is what it is. On that matter. I want to say what happens next is, Courtney and Cameron walk around the town. Courtney trying to like give him like a little bit of motivation, try and maybe tap into like what made him love about art to maybe help control his new ice powers. And at first Cameron's like scared because like he doesn't want to hurt Courtney. He doesn't want to like, really use these powers, but Courtney calms him down, holds his hands, and then he manages to concentrate all of his emotions into like a very peaceful snowstorm. It's very magical, it's very wonderful, and guess what, it leads into like, I was like waiting for like who's gonna ruin this moment, who's gonna call in, who's gonna stop in, what villain's gonna show up. No one shows up. They kiss, and honestly it's a pretty sweet kiss. Like it's not very like a passionate makeout session, but it's a very nice soft kiss that like I know they've been thinking about for a while now. So where does that lead them next? I don't really know. Meanwhile, over on the other subplots, which I nearly forgot about them. Once again, Mikey and the new Thunderbolt are trying to figure out, okay, the Dragon King's back. How do we fit into this? And somehow this season, like so far, it just feels like Mike and the Thunderbolt are kind of like an afterthought. Like they don't really are very useful. Like the middle school scenes are not really doing it for me. Like, yeah, it is kind of like trying to be comic relief, and they're trying to get involved in the plot. Like say like, hey, let's go in the sewers and go find the Dragon King. Which I'm like, bro, you want to go into the sewers with a striped suit that I'm pretty sure can barely fit a small hole, and a little kid whose only superpower is to make very specific wishes. You are not in the place to fight a villain like the Dragon King, even if he is back. But before they even think about that, like how do we even fight this dude? New Thunderbolt just asks Mike, like, your dad has the keys to Stripe. How the hell are we gonna use it? And Mike's like, we can just wish for the key. It's very simple. And I guess they forgot to be overly specific because Thunderbolt literally just fires out a ton of freaking keys all over the place that I guess correspond to a stripe. So I was like, I love the monkey's paw theory. I love it so much. They give up on the idea and they go home. Barbara's back at City Hall. She's pitching this idea for a new park for the town since more families are moving in, that this would be a very nice opportunity for them to have this location. And her new manager, who initially was always like team anti-Barbara, suddenly all team yay Barbara. Like this is Barbtacular. This is so Barbulous, and I'm like, okay, you're starting to be cringe for the sake of annoying me. Please stop this, for the love of God, give me a break. And Tigress has kind of had her words with him earlier last night, so like, yeah, he has no choice but to be on her team. And yeah, so for Barbara goes back into her office, she meets up again with Tigress, and it seems like they're like, someone like, mentioning like, it was my idea to like, it's on me for you getting this position, this opportunity. So you're welcome. Don't think it was necessarily smart for you to be threatening someone just so another friend can like get an advancement in life. I don't think that's a smart move, but it is what it is by that point. It is what it is. I think we cut back over to the Dugan house where Sylvester's getting some fresh air. Pat's just like reminiscing on the old times and also what they just witnessed in the basement. And, once again, Sylvester's on the mindset of like, the last few days, I've always said I want to be a better Starman, but I just haven't been able to. I think now is the time for me to finally retire and finally fully pass on the staff and the title to Courtney with no back and forths. Pat's like, no, it's not over for you yet. There's still much more to your time as Starman to go. And as a little token of like his belief in him, that he gives him like a new suit. Well, it's the same suit, just refixed, since Courtney took the last suit and resized it for a girl for her. And Sylvester's like, you know what? I'm back. Like, I'm gonna do this again. It just seems like this is kind of becoming a running pattern with Sylvester. Like, he would get to like a very serious moment. He would go a little bit too far with his emotions. He would regress. He would say, I'm not Starman anymore. Someone would say, no, you are Starman. Here's a proof of that. He's like, yeah, I'm Starman again. It's starting to get a little samey, and we're only in the 4th episode in, so hopefully they kind of stop with that soon, because I'm getting a little tired of it, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, he accepts the suit again, and he's ready to be Starman again. I want to say... I know Cindy is back at the lab again, and she's still struggling with like her itching stuff. And it turns out that she's starting to develop dragon skin, or like very hard green skin, similar to her dad. So it seems like whatever she's been doing to herself, or whatever experimentations that were performed on her, is finally coming to seep through, and that she's going to become similar to the Dragon King herself, which is going to be a pretty scary thought, even though that we still don't really know what the heck's going on with that front. Lastly, but surely Yolanda and Rick show up to Sylvester, telling them like, yeah, we think it's Dragon Master. We got a DNA match. It could be him. He might be back in town. Courtney's off being smooching Cameron. So we need the Starman. We need him to come in. And he's like, okay. And he's at the most calmest, let me suit up. And I was like, that is... Look, it was cool, but it was also so calm. It's like when you're about to suit up for like the final battle for like a big confrontation, you're like, suit up, like, with confidence, with gravitas, with like, with emotion. And I forgot the mask again. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? This is the 3rd week in a row I forgot the mask. But yeah, I think that's all. I think that's all the bullets they have to cover. I think that's everything. I want to say, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was it for this week's episode. Sorry for that. And it's so anticlimactic. Did I cover all my points? I think I covered all my points. Overall speaking, this was just a fun episode. This had the comic book feel of like, this was a fun, not filler, but kind of like just like a middle of the road episode where like we're still trying to figure out what we're trying to do specifically. But we did get some cool moments with, Dr. Midnighter reuniting with Starman, Courtney and Cameron finally getting the kiss they need, getting some real story progress on Yolanda. Best mom finally admitting she's an idiot sometimes. Overall, good episode. It really was. There were some emotional moments, there were some funny moments, and I really enjoyed it. In terms of specifically Cindy becoming the Dragon King, it would be a very interesting opportunity to present. Like, it's still unquestionable, like, who actually did kill the gambler and who injured Sylvester. It's still a big mystery. It could be her, it could be her dad, could be Mr. Bones, wherever the hell he is. It's 4 episodes in, and the villain you teased at the end of last season's finale hasn't even shown up, which is different. It is different. Like the last 2 seasons of Stargirl, we got the big bad like at the first episode, or at least some presence of him. We haven't seen much of Mr. Bones yet, and I'm pretty sure that the figure who's been watching him is Mr. Bones. So I'll tie it all in at the end once we eventually catch up to that point. But it's just funny of the way that just it's kind of turning out to be. But it'll be interesting to see how Cindy turns out with her transformation. Yolanda's storyline with her family, it's gonna be, honestly, I really welcome it. It's been a while since we got something of that nature. Last year was Yolanda with the whole brainwave trauma. This could be a good avenue to, like, maybe finally reconcile with her family again. So it would be interesting to see. It would be very interesting to see how that's gonna all turn out. Courtney and Cameron finally kissing. Does that mean they're in a relationship? Does that mean she's going to reveal that she's Stargirl to him? And it's going to be a major betrayal, because Cameron did admit to Courtney, like, yeah, I know my dad was killed. I don't know who did it. And remember, there was that nightmare scene where, like, they assumed Cameron knew that Mikey was the one who technically killed him, but it wasn't. It was just a nightmare fueled by Eclipso. So what does that entirely mean for, like, once the revelation comes out that Mikey is the killer, kind of, quote unquote? We'll see, we'll see, but it'll be very interesting to see about that. And Starman kind of like, finally suiting up again and seeing the next episode's promo is going to be like, yeah, that'll be interesting. It's still weird to see Joe McHale in a superhero suit. I kind of prefer him just wearing traditional regular clothes, but you know what? I welcome it. I welcome it a lot. But again, hopefully the whole Sylvester spiel of like, trying to be Starman too hard, letting his emotions get to him, saying, I'm done being Starman, then him going back on his statement to be Starman again. I really hope that kind of stops. It's getting a little bit annoying for me already. If it starts getting repeated again, we'll see how it goes. We'll see. But overall speaking, I think this was a good fun episode of Stargirl. Not the best. It was the most comic book that Stargirl's ever felt, for better or for worse. But with that being said, I'm going to give this episode 1.5 thumbs up. Still really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this week's episode of Stargirl? Let's have that conversation down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me tonight, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's Up to from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 3rd season of DC Stargirl. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's Up to besides our Stargirl episode reviews, we're currently doing High School Musical, the musical, the series reviews each and every week after brand new is on Disney+. And starting next week, we're back. The Rookie is back. The Rookieverse is also about to begin as well. Not only next week, we're going to be starting our Rookie Season 5 episode reviews each and every Mondays. We're also going to be starting our Rookie Feds episode reviews each and every Wednesdays after brand new is on ABC. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be an amazing time to get back into that universe. We're really going to start kickstarting our episode reviews. You're going to see more of our channel being more and more active because, oh man, I'm going to be hella tired, but I love doing this. I love doing this. However, if you don't care about Stargirl, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. You're gonna have to wait a little bit. Stargirl is on hiatus next week for some reason. I don't know what next week is, but they're on a break, so it is what it is. But yeah, so Stargirl's on break next week. We'll be back on October 4th. Well, we'll be back on October 5th. The show will be back on October 4th with a brand new episode. So we're off next week, but we got some fun stuff to fill in. So go watch that. But again, this has been What's the Two from ActionX. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates we may have for either of our channels. Like, favorite, share this review if you want to, as well as please ring the bell. But until we see each other again, for all you Stargirls out there, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.